Well, everyone, I guess we could get started, right? I mean, we've been in a few minutes and we'll just,
Yes,
people will keep coming.
yes.
So Clint,
So,
you want to kick it off?
yes, yes. So, today there's nothing better than, celebrate Pride Month, you know? So it's all about engaging and having an insightful conversation about pride. And I love the way that Rich put it together, this script, because he also talked about the straight allies, So that's what Pride Month is all about. It's about the people that fought for the chance of us bonding and unite together. It's not about, straight, not straight, like we're all in this together. It's about respect, it's about, being able to be ourselves. And the name says it all. It's about being proud of who we are, right?
Exactly.
So what do you I found this amazing, Rich. Reading the post that you had set up, that will be going live after this live. You said that you attended your first Pride Parade at 17 years old, and you had a special guest in there. So tell us a little bit about this experience.
Yeah. So when I came out, it wasn't me coming out, it was my mom coming to me and asking me. Um, I had already gone through a lot of stuff. And if you dig into our Substack page, you'll learn the story of what happened in my life as a young kid and the challenges that I dealt with. But my mom recognized that something was going on, and she confronted me on Valentine's Day of all days. Um, so we had a good conversation. There was crying, there was upset, but I also had already been prepping for it because I knew I had already decided that I wanted to do that. She just got ahead of me. Mother's intuition, I have to say. But because of that, then she started to get involved in things. And one of the first things I did was I got her involved in PFLAG. And PFLAG is Parents and Friends of Gays and Lesbians. And it's a worldwide organization that really is about the parents and the allies that are out there taking care of the kids and the others out there. It's a very open, welcoming environment. They had meetings, so there's support groups for people because despite that, there might be an acceptance. It doesn't mean that they're not dealing with some other parts to it. Because when you think about it, if you had expectations on one person all their life, and then all of a sudden it changed, it's like something died. They didn't die, but in essence, a part of what their dream was had died. And maybe it didn't. Maybe in some ways it really didn't, but in their initial feelings and thoughts, that's what took place. So they parents and friends, they all have a time that they need to kind of process. Um, it's just because that's reality coming through. Um, but once she got through all that, and she did pretty quickly because I think she had already been kind of dealing with the idea of it for a while as well. Um, and PFLAG was amazing. They got her involved. She got hooked into all sorts of activities with them. She was going every week. And then she started going to other groups as well. And she even got into leadership with them for a while. But one of the things that was really cool was my first Pride Parade that I went to in Philadelphia. Um, I was 17, almost 18. I think I was just seven. I was just getting ready to turn 18. So we went to it, and um, my mom was in the parade with me, and we went to the parade, and then we went to a few bars. she we didn't drink or anything like that, but she went we went to like a piano bar, and like I had made friends, so some friends were taking us around the different things, and then we went to church. So that was the nice part about it is we ended up at what was called and still is called Dignity, which is a Catholic organization for gays and lesbians. So that's how I got her into the parade, and it was kind of pretty cool that I got that. So that was one of my very lucky parts to it. My family wasn't always as great about it, but she was really good about it. She was a shining star in my world, and she really took care of not only me but many other gay and lesbians. She became friends and allies with and supported them like where their parents maybe didn't support them as well, she was there helping them, so it was pretty cool.
That was amazing. And before your first parade, did you had any sneak peek of any other parade, or was your first one
It
of
was
first
pretty
one?
much my first, like, real big I mean, I was going to Dignity for a while, I was going to some other events and things like that in the city, but nothing as big as the parade. Um, so that was where it was really an eye opener. And I'm going back into a long time ago. I'm not talking about recently. I'm going back to where those parades were still on the newer side. They were just really starting to become a parade. So there was maybe a little bit less of the glamour that they might have today, but there was still the pride was there. All the um everyone's showing their colors and whatnot, right, for the words that are there because they really saw a rainbow of colors. So it really kind of connects to what where the rainbow comes from is because they all kind of have a different flair and everyone's a little bit different. So I mean, no one's really the same when you start thinking about it. And there you saw how different everybody was.
Awesome. And obviously, the Pride Month and the parades, they're more than just gathering of people. There are celebration of something that happened in 1969, in New York. So for everyone that doesn't know, is the Stonewall riots.
Mm.
So the parades, they are a powerful expression, of everything that those people stood for, and they kind of start this whole movement of pride and acceptancy, and a tribute to all of that, for a more sustainable future. Hey, staff Peters, welcome in. So, hey, Rich, just walk us through, like how it is to be in such a strong movement, like from uh from everything that it stands for,
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
back then it was really special because it was at the height of AIDS, so that was a big thing. Um,
Mhm.
that was where, like, the quilt was very big and just started to really become, something you would go see, and I remember even those that year, I think, was the year that they brought the quilt to Philadelphia and had it, hanging someplace, and it was pretty cool to get to see some of that, and it laid out on some of the floor and everything else. It was because it was huge. I mean, it's like all these pieces. So that was a big thing then, and there was a lot of anxiety and concerns and fear because it wasn't accepted then. I mean, the whole Pride Parade was not an accepted thing. It was something we did, but it wasn't necessarily something that everyone approved. It was kind of it was like just happening. In essence. Um, so by today, it's a whole different game. It's changed so much. Back then it was like we did a small little parade, we did a small little party, and we had our thing. Now it's a weekend of stuff, and the mayor's involved in it, and there's like all these other things going on. So Philadelphia has like a whole different thing. They had a flag, this huge flag that which I think I have in one of my posts. where they drug this huge long flag of like I don't even remember how long it was, but it was like almost like a mile. It seemed like, yeah, when you looked at it, because it was just all these people carrying this flag throughout the city, parading throughout the city, and it was the rainbow flag, but it was just this really long version of the rainbow flag. And then at the end, they ended up at City Hall, and then the mayor was there to raise a
That's
different flag,
right.
not that flag, because that flag would not would still be touching the ground. But they raised a smaller flag that was appropriate to at City Hall. I mean, so that didn't happen back when I did, first parade. That there wasn't even like an acknowledgement from the mayor or anything like that. It was, it was like, okay, over here. News, no coverage, like maybe
Mhm.
have a little blurb of, oh, the community had something just to kind of appease us, but they didn't tell details, they didn't show pictures. Today it's like the parade's on TV and they got this and they got, I mean, it's like it's a whole different world. So we are very lucky where we are at today. Um, but I would also say that we are throughout the world, we are in a spot where we are on an edge right now. Things are going in the right way, but that teeter is there. And if we don't watch it, we're going to go backwards. And that's a concern right now that we are teetering on that edge there. Of which way do we go forward or backwards? I think we need to be very careful. I think we need to keep being open about who we are and educating people. Don't just like say, "Oh, I'm gay." It's more like, "Well, what's the story about it? Why is it like that? What is help them understand it because the more they understand, why you're trans, why you're poly or whatever the case may be. Like help them understand the different parts to it, that it's not just one thing. Because right away, everybody's mind goes right to the gutter and they go, oh, that's what it's for. No, there's a whole bunch more about that. So I think education and all is really key. But we had a lot of fun with parades then, and now it's a huge thing. And Sunday or Thursday, I'm going to little pride parade that's in my church's neighborhood, and it's going to be nice. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's amazing. And the rainbow, like you said about the flag, the rainbow itself has been a symbol of hope, you know? So here in Brazil as well, I see the parades, becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And, at first, you a lot of people didn't join in, but as the more they educated people, and like this is for everybody,
Hmm.
so even the straight allies, sometimes they felt like, is it for me? Should I, am I allowed to go in, or they, and they felt more and more comfortable. So right now here in Brazil, you'll see like little kids, families, all having
Yep.
a good time, So it's just a parade like any other, and obviously they have purpose,
Yep.
people are not just getting around to party and stuff like that. I agree with you. Here in Brazil, they do talks. The mayors of the major cities are also involved, so there's a lot of a quality education around it, because I agree with you. At the end of the day, it's about acceptancy, but it's about education, like, hey, this is us. You know, this is us. This is who we are. This is our us as human beings. So and it's amazing on how it's going.
And I think um, one thing you touched on that's really key is that it really is for everyone. When you think about the rainbow flag, the whole point of the rainbow flag was to be inclusive of everyone. It
Mhm.
wasn't meant to be just the LGBTQ community, and where that plus came in, even that plus, though it's for certain things as well. Really, if you start thinking about it, our straight allies are under that plus as well. It's really everyone. It's an inclusive of everyone, and we aren't here to have pride about necessarily being gay or whatever. It's pride in ourselves. It's pride in that we can be ourselves, and that's a big thing because I think we're told, and you'll see this in my post that I'll be sending out after this with this conversation. But in there, I talk about how there, we start out life, where there's a male, female, and that's the box that we're in, and it's okay. We kind of deal with that, but the reality is there's so much more to each person, and as we start to grow and we start to learn who we are, we realize that we don't fit into that box. And a lot of people don't fit into that box. And that's the thing. We don't need to fit into a box anymore. We shouldn't be fitting into a box. We should be a little bit more to a point where we can accept a person for who they are. And again, there's so many layers to every person. So maybe they're straight, maybe they're gay, maybe they're trans, maybe they're not trans. It doesn't matter. It's their world, and they need to be who they are, and we need to accept that. Um, if we started thinking about having only two colors in a rainbow, how boring would that be? How boring would life be if we only had two colors? I mean, if we realize that there's so many more colors out there, and it's not just what we see in the regular rainbow. We see already our pride flag has expanded. Well, there's beyond that even. I mean, there is so many different ways of a person to feel and grow. It If you think about an onion, there's all these layers, and everyone is in essence an onion. But down in the center, we're all the same. And that's what really we have to remember. Yes, we might be different, but in the center, we're all the same.
Yeah, and that's all about that, creating that safe space, which is funny because you should be safe all along, right?
Mhm.
So that goes for everything, for workspaces, for schools, for everything, like sometimes we just look at those company pages and you see that picture, and you're starting to see more and more and more diversity in it,
Mhm.
and that should be the way it is all along,
Mhm.
like it should be a safe space. And obviously we have we have seen otherwise, companies that whenever they see like a trans people and they don't want to hire that person because that doesn't really go with the company policies, and so, so that's that's going backwards,
Mhm.
on everything we're standing for, because uh uh that's inclusive, like
Mhm.
we shouldn't be biased, and and choose to work with a person based on their choice at the end of the day, so that's everything we stand for, and about diversity, what do you think in this? I seen a lot of places here in Brazil, like I saw one that they even went, sometimes you see like bathrooms going like, hey, this or male, female kind of this, and they had like whatever you are, like
Mhm.
it was supposed to be a joke, but also, they're raising their flags about everything they believe. You like, there's no, this or that, like this bathroom is for everyone, you know?
Mhm.
And it
I
was right in the middle of all that discussion, like, hey, about the bathroom discussion. I believe you guys had that in the United States as well, because we had here in Brazil, when all those discussions about the public bathrooms came around, and people were like talking about it, and a lot of places they raise their flags and say, you know what? We only have one type of bathroom, and they are for everyone.
and I think some countries did more than others. I think America kinda got a little bit of a mix. It's been a very struggle with that. The whole idea is it's the unknown. It's the not understanding about a trans or
Yeah.
a non-sexual person or all these other identities. They don't understand it and they get fear of it. So when they hear, it's a trans person, they go, "Oh, they're evil or they're going to hurt someone," or that's not the case. They're projecting their fears onto that, and that's not really the case. Yeah, they're a trans isn't going to go into the bathroom to look at other people or to do bad things. Trans is going to use the bathroom to use the bathroom. I mean, there bad people out there, absolutely, but they may not be trans. There's men that slip into women's rooms and all that stuff. So it doesn't mean that you're going to stop something like that from happening. All you're doing is hurting someone who really is authentic to themselves and wants to be authentic to you and just wants to live their life. So hopefully people start to see that and realize that. But I think we're a way off before that, because it's that time of learning. When the gay and lesbians first really started to come into play of being a mainstream thing, it was a while before people adjusted to it. It wasn't accepted. Marriage wasn't accepted. All that stuff. But it went faster than I ever thought it would, because I think because of things like social media, the television, all that stuff, they all brought out that whole environment of it's okay and they're just like us and things like that. So I think over time you'll see that happen with others as well. But you know, in meantime, I think one thing that we have to readdress or relook at is diversity. Diversity is such a right now a toxic word in many ways, because of the way it's been portrayed through Trump and all these others. But it's about inclusiveness of everyone, not just gay, lesbian, whatever. It's straight, it's black, it's white, it's Jewish, it's Islam, whatever. We need to be looking at it from a bigger picture than just that it's a sexual thing. It's inclusivity of everyone, and that's really, I think, what has to be readdressed. Because right now, the way that it's the image of diversity and how Trump is pulling all that stuff out and everything else, that has this negative feeling, and it's not. If there is anything that he's trying to do good of it, which I don't know if there is or isn't, but if there is anything he's trying to do good of it, is he's trying to get everyone to be a little bit more equal. Um, and I can see part of that. I don't think agree the way he does it, but um, there is a reason that we all need to be equal and to elevate a group above another group. That's not necessarily helping. To say, okay, this group we have to make sure we include. We should be including everyone. It shouldn't be, oh, just this one or just that one, or let's not forget this. It should be the whole thing. And I think that's really where we struggle at right now. And that's part of why pride is still so important, is because we have to keep being taking that pride in ourselves and realizing that we're all the same and we all have the same wants and needs. We might have a different personality or a different outlook on life or whatever, but really, down to the core, we're all the same.
Yeah, and I love what you said because it's about pride at the end of the day, So it's going beyond the binary thing, You're this or you're that. Like we that's amazing, you know. And what are your thoughts on what the future holds, right? Regarding like what you guys are talking about regarding like the the Congress and everything, and then about the rights and where do you think we should go?
I think it's on the edge right now. I think people need to really continue to fight for the rights, even though we felt like we kind of got there already. We're not there, and that's globally. There are places in this world that people are being killed just because they're gay or lesbian, or there's a refugee camps that they're being thrown into and stuff like that. So there's
Or
a
their religion or their beliefs, like that's what I'm talking about. Like it's beyond the binary thing because if you're walking around with your, if you're a Jew or if you're Islam, you might be killed the same way. Let's not
exact
forget, a while ago, black people were not allowed to sit, in the front of the bus,
right.
they should sit in the back. So it's the same thing all over again, in different subjects.
And I think we're going to continue this cycle for a little while until people really start to learn the world. Um, you got to remember, a large portion of our population still has not had that proper exposure yet. Our younger generations, they're a little bit more adapt to it because they've been living through it a little bit differently. But even myself, I find there's times where I'm going, "Oh, that's too much," and really, it isn't when I start to think about it. But my initial reaction is, "Oh my gosh, why are we doing that? We shouldn't be doing that." Um, why? Why should we not be doing that? That if that's who they are, then that's who they are.
Yeah, like for example, there's a limit for everything, Like sometimes people say, "Oh, you shouldn't be kissing in public because you're gay," for example, But sometimes I get discusses whenever is a boy and a girl kissing in public because they're going like so, sexual about it. Like, hey, there's kids around you, you shouldn't be doing that also. So yeah, it's not about it's beyond the binary thing, like you
Exactly.
shouldn't be doing that in public because you're this or because you're that. There's a limit for everything.
That's exactly it. I mean, we need to relook at um, how we act in society in general. But it's not about who you are sexually or who you are by a race or by a religion. It's really about just coming down to that common courtesy for each other and being
Yeah.
respectful to each other. That's really what it comes down to, and I think that's where a lot of times is forgotten, the respect for each other. Um, we hear all these rhetorics going on about marriage or we just had that whole thing in Colorado where the guy threw that Molotov cocktail. You know that that's just as bad. I mean that's just the same thing. We all start thinking we're better than each other. We're not. In the realization, we're not better than each other. We're all the same. Yes, we have different views, and that's okay that we have different views. You do your thing, I do my thing. Why are we worried about what somebody else is doing?
Yeah. Why
As
are you
long
going
as
to
we're
throw
not
up?
hurting each other, that's really what comes down to. As long as we're not hurting each other, as long as we are respecting each other, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And if you don't agree for whatever reason, just be cool, like just live your life. I agree with you. And like those people that they go after and they throw like a bomb or wherever, or try to run people over, like, why are you doing this? Like they're not bothering you, just live with your life, So just let go of the hatred, again, it's beyond the binary because that person is the type of person that is doing the same for other stuff, for politics, for religion, for this and that, and it's about respect at the end of the day, from my point of view as well, it's like, all right, for whatever we're talking about ideology, so ideology is not really something that you really change, so it's something that you believe and you go with it, so I believe we still a long way to go, you know. So
I
we still, but
but
people are
conversations
getting
like this that need to keep happening so that we can get
yes,
to that next level. I think it's the enlightenment of our own conscious and our own self to understand and to respect the world around us. And yes, you may not agree with everything in the world around you, but that's you just need to respect it. You don't need to agree with it. You know, I mean, every country has its own thoughts and own desires and whatnot. And maybe one country doesn't believe in what the other country does. Okay,
Yeah.
then that country does its thing, and that's why we have this big world to live in. You know, we don't need to like stop each other from doing our religion or from doing loving who we want to love or things like that. You know, like that's where it really gets sad is that we start to really hurt people just because they're loving who they want or they're doing the religion that they want or their race that they are or whatever the case may be. It's just we need to like open our minds up and understand that we're down to the core we are all the same.
Yeah, because again, like uh we know who they are, but there's people out there who doesn't really agree with something and they advocate for that. So that's when we start a hate speech, you know,
Mm.
like if you don't agree, just don't agree. That's fine. Move on with your life. Talk about good stuff. Talk about other stuff. But whenever you say that something it's wrong and it's harming the people, for example, something they really don't really know about it, that's whenever you start to disseminate hate, and other people start saying, oh, if that person, which sometimes holds a position of power, it's saying other people are going to say, oh, so I should be hateful as well, for example, you know. I have a friend of mine that one time he was walking out of his work, and out of nowhere he got knocked out. Like he didn't even know where he came from. He got knocked out, and those two persons started to beat him. He almost died, broke his teeth, broke his ribs, and everything. And nothing happened with those people because he got knocked out point blank and he didn't even know who did it. So thanks God somebody, after they stopped the beating, save him, kind of thing, and called an ambulance and stuff like that. So those things should stop for good, and whatever it is, because again, we see that being doing everywhere, people being killed and beaten because of their beliefs in politics and religion and sports, man. How come? Here in Brazil is very common. Soccer is a big thing, and people sometimes they go after each other because of their teams. You know,
Hmm.
that's just middle age stuff kind of thing. So I agree. Talks like this, they need to happen more and more often. So we see we are brothers and sisters.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it the world has a lot of cruelty in it, and a lot of it comes from not just hatred, but it comes from the stereotyping that people do. When you really look at like you hear Trump and he'll do his thing where he said, "Oh, the Democrats," or "Oh, the this or that," whatever he's going on about that day. He is stereotyping everyone under that, and that's not the right way of looking at people because everyone's different. There is no true stereotype. Yes, there might be a similarity of something, but that doesn't mean that everyone's going to do the same thing or be the same way. You can't stereotype people. You can't say all blacks are this way, or all whites are this way, or all gays are this way, or all lesbians are this way. You can't say that because they're everyone has a different view in their own lives and they live and grow a different way, so they are not the same. And that's something we have to remember. It doesn't just because one person did something bad doesn't mean everybody else that has that same title is going to do it. It's not the case. Same thing with religion. Just because one person in that religion did something bad doesn't mean everybody in that religion thinks that way. We have to understand that there is a lot more to everything that's out there. It's not that big as people think it is.
Yeah, and you brought in a good point, that reinforced everything we were talking about, the respect, For example, whenever you see Barack Obama, for example, obviously he doesn't agree with everything, but the way he deals with that is very different from the way that Trumps deal with that.
Mhm,
Like, for example, Trump doesn't openly doesn't agree and doesn't like Joe Biden, for example.
mhm.
And why not be cool about it? Like just move along, You are the president now for whatever reason, just move on with your life. But he feels the need to cuss about Joe Biden, and call him names and all this hate speech. Like
He
I
feels
ask my
threat.
I ask myself, like, why? Why what are you taking out of this? Like this guy is long gone. He's not the president anymore. Just move on with with your life. Why incite hateful speech? Because again, if you really look closely, those kind of persons that go after pride parades and stuff like that, and trans people or whatever, they are they are going after all types of beliefs as well. They are racist, they are political bias, and then that's, I mean, my perspective, that's just miserable, you know?
It's miserable, and it's a stereotype because it's saying that everyone's the same way, and that is not the case. Maybe there are a few like that, but there's a few like that in every area. So don't be, saying everyone's going to be that way. You start to box everyone into one little package. You're really doing an injustice to those people. Um, you know, I don't agree with what this guy did, but I also understand some of the things that people are thinking on what's happening over in Israel. So I understand part of it. I think that everyone starts to again do the same thing. They're stereotyping, saying all the Islams or the different parts of Israel are the same, and they're not. All Israel Jewish people don't think the same way. They all have a different opinion on things. Same thing. All Americans don't think the same way. We all have a different opinion. So it's respecting those opinions and respecting each other is really what it comes down to. And
Yeah,
started to do that more, we wouldn't be having some of the wars that we have today.
exactly. Because whenever we see, like I mentioned, like here in Brazil, we see people killing each other because of their soccer teams, like
Yeah.
what the hell? Like, are you serious? Like there's no point, so much hate for each other, doesn't matter what team you cheer for, just move along, and I hope one day we will live to see, people being respectful for each other, because I don't really see people agreeing with everything,
Mhm.
but I see people being respectful, there's
That
gonna still have, the J the J people out there, that, but just be respectful.
Yeah. I think you're, if we can get to a point where we just start to respect each other better, um, we will create a better world. But it's gonna take time. But that's what's one thing that's great about the internet and all that we're doing, is it starts to open up those doors a little bit more, gives people insights to other parts of the world and how that's happening. Um, and then there's the philosophy behind it, which takes me to our other adventure that we've been on, and that's Corners. We do Philosophy Corner, or Coffee with Philosophy, every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. It's a great time to just get up and uh, start talking with some people about religion or some other parts of philosophy, just giving a good insight to your day, a good thought for you as you start your day, and a good conversation with a few other people that you can share that coffee with. So instead of sitting there by yourself and grumbling about your day, hop on and have coffee with us. Coffee with Philosophy every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 a.m. Eastern.
And that's what it's all about, you know. We're creating place full of pride, you know, because for example, I love philosophy, you know, and a few years back, you know, even before COVID came around, I used to do a few stories, you know, and just to give people joy and, you know, with a few quotes, you know, like, hey, rise and shine and this and that. And I stopped doing that, you know, and one of the reasons that I stopped doing that is because I was bullied, you know, by a lot of people. You know, I got a lot of hate messages, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, stop that crap, you know, like, yeah. And I was kind of like, said, I don't belong here, you know, like,
Mhm.
what am I doing? So I just rather, you know what? I'm just gonna step out, you know, and find my crowd and be myself, you know. There's people like me out there that loves the things that I love as well, you know, and that's everything we're achieving with Corners. Because
Mhm.
like you said, right, Rich, we have a place that the Coffee with Philosophy, for example, you know, it doesn't matter your belief, doesn't matter your religion, you know, there's people from everywhere in the
Mhm.
world that joins in and we just talk, you know. Sometimes we agree with each other, sometimes we don't. And
Mhm.
it's amazing because it's a respectful environment, you know, that we can learn with each other and we can uh, educate ourselves about the world, you know.
Yeah, it gives you a different insight on topics that you may not normally talk about, and that's what's really the beauty of it. And it's live conversation. It's not this like this is nice and live, but it's not live with everyone else.
Yeah.
In corners, everyone is on video. Everyone can talk. So that's the beauty of corners is that it gives that little nook of a space. We like to call them nooks, or in this case, it's going to be a stage spotlight because a planned event. But they are just spaces where everyone can kind of sit around, in essence, like a table, and have a discussion, um, and and drink your coffee or whatever your morning beverage is. So it's really cool. I've been on several times with it, and I love it. It's sometimes a little early for some of us, but we will work on making additional times as well too as we go.
Um,
Uh, but Khalil has been doing this for a good while now, and there's a good following on it, which I that's why I jumped on with him, and I love it. It's great to be on those Coffee with Philosophies. I really enjoy the conversation and the topics, and I've met some really interesting people as well. And that's the other neat part about Corners is you're meeting people from um, all over the world, all over the country, um, and you never know who you're going to meet. And that's the beauty of corners.
yeah, we've been gathering a great pride community, you know, so
Mhm.
we just try to be ourselves in there, you know, and meeting other awesome people that are out there, you know. So it's amazing. So final thoughts, Rich. What do you want to give to the crowd out there?
Um, I just want everyone to really find their own pride in themselves. Um, take pride in who you are. Doesn't matter what your sexuality is. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter any of the colors of your skin or your height or your weight or any of that stuff. It's about taking pride in who you are. Um, Is it an easy journey for some? No, it's not. I would say I struggled with it for a while, but it's about doing that self reflection, taking a different look at yourself and um, understanding more about you and how you can become prideful in yourself. Um, and that's what the worthy mindset is all about. It's that help give you that opportunity to start to think about and reflect on things. And in corners, we're going to be doing more things like that. So we have already a corner for the worthy mindset, but we're also going to have a pride corner, and we're going to have some other corners that are going to come along that will continue to build on that whole self confidence and worth. So um, I'm really excited about what we're doing on corners, and I love the connection of Substack to corners because there's an environment that crosses over, which is really nice. So that's kind of why I keep like bringing it up because I'm just excited right now that we're just really launching the whole product and getting it out there, and everyone's starting to just start to pick up on it and join us. And it's a members only type environment because we don't want like a bunch of what would you call trolls, I guess, coming in and causing problems. So it's a little bit more exclusive membership, but that's the great part about it is it's that exclusive membership. There's no ads, there's no algorithms. It's just about good conversations. So I'm really excited about that, and I think something like this will help slowly change people's minds as well too. So
Yeah, and it's we with everything that Rich just said, we happen to gather a great community of people, and it's growing and growing and growing in a healthy way, So that's amazing.
and then we do have that other fun time too on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, hump
At
day.
8 o'clock Wednesday night, you can join us on Corners as well, and we do Hump Day Hangout, and it's just a an evening, an hour of time where we can have a drink and whatever your beverage choice is, and just kind of sit and chill, and enjoy being with each other, have a conversation with someone you don't know, and maybe they become a friend. It's all about learning about new people and meeting new people. So come join us on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and there's tons of stuff out there, there's loops where we have a lot of conversation around a bunch of topics, from AI, from self-knowledge, from well-being, for technology, entrepreneurship. As Rich mentioned, we're gonna, start introducing new stuff. We have partnered up with amazing people such as Justin, from Atlanta, awarding winner fashion model. So it's amazing, Again, it's all about the community, So we have been able and very grateful to bring a lot of great people
Mhm.
together.
Exactly, and we're going to continue to blend the Substack world to our corners because there's a nice synergy between the two. So I hope that people can come on over and join us and have the great conversations with us.
Yeah. All right, Rich. So there's a wrap for our Pride Month celebration, right?
Yeah, well, we'll continue on with some things, but for this conversation, it's a wrap. I will include this in the post so that everyone can read the post, and it
Yeah.
goes into much more details. And there's even a great AI prompt that I created where it gives some questions to you and then gives you a little
Awesome.
bit of a feedback on yourself. So it's really cool. So I think you're going to like that. So definitely check out all the fun that we're doing. Keep tabs on us. Join us on our
And spoiler, we're gonna have a Pride Corner soon.
yes, we're gonna have the Pride Corner. We're gonna have we're gonna have other corners like uh hangout corner and a philosophy corner. And yeah, so there's a lot of fun things coming. So keep an eye on corners, keep an eye on our Substack, particularly our Substack corners news. That's where you're gonna really learn a lot of what's going on with the corners world. And then the worthy mindset, we're here. We're gonna continue building on that because we want to help people grow and get better.
Awesome, Rich. All right. So great week for everyone. Thanks, Rich. Love the conversation. See you.
Thank you all. Happy Pride.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.